this time of year where you guys in the past have been able to really turn it on, but you've been rolling. So how do you sustain the success and the run that you're on when you know you got about 6 weeks left, maybe a little less, before you get into that GLIAC tournament?
Yeah, I think it's I we always talk about like making jumps, tangible jumps of getting better, and I think we're due for another jump of improvement. Record wise, it's hard to say that, but like I'm seeing it, and it might not translate to winning more, margins of victory being higher,
Sure.
but I see that we are close to making another breakthrough of us getting better. And usually it's because a couple players take a jump, and Bennett, I think's in the process of making that jump. I think Brooks Hinson is close to making that jump. Charlie Miller's close to making that jump. So, and then Sam Privet's been battling some stuff health wise, and I think he's close to making that jump. So all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's a couple different guys that could do it. Isaiah might be able to, make another jump. I think he's made one already, but so that's kind of where we're at. Is how do we find a way to get better than where we are now and not over concern yourself with the record, which has been extremely positive.
Lake State on Thursday, I know that's not an easy place to play, and you guys end up having to come back. Just from your eyes, what was the recipe for that comeback in the second half?
Yeah, I was extremely impressed by the way we came back because it didn't feel. Sometimes you kind of feel the comeback coming. This one felt bad. Like I didn't. I wouldn't say I thought we were going to lose, but I didn't know how we were going to get going because they took us out of so many of the things we do well, and we just were struggling, and we didn't really find a magic answer to come back. We just kind of one possession at a time did it. Our guys made some big time shots. We simplified some of what we were doing to try to attack them a little bit more downhill. And obviously Dylan went, Dylan superhuman mode, which we don't get it done without him doing that.
Yeah.
I can understand downhill in football, but what do you mean by downhill in basketball?
Yeah, so I think our offense, maybe more so than most offenses, is very side to side moving, and the ball changes sides of the floor quite a bit, and we run a lot of movement, a lot of screening action, and the old days of dribble down, set eye ball screen and go north south. Well, that probably not the old days. The mid days of 10 to 20 years ago. I think that style's going away a little bit, and everybody's going to a little bit more movement again. And we probably are more on that end of the spectrum than anyone, in the conference, maybe even in the country. Every now and then we have to stop doing all that pretty stuff and just go, all right, ball screen, go straight, get to rim. And you have to have really good players to be able to do that. I don't personally think it's sustainable for a season, or I don't even love when we do it for a full game. But I think there's times and places when the other team is playing you a certain way where you got to adjust your style a little bit and go kind of straight at the defense rather than moving them side to side.
Has your offense evolved over the course of the year, would you say? And I know there's different things that you'll add in, during a game and things like that, but just how have you seen it grow as your players, especially playing a lot of younger guys this year?
Yeah, it's changing in a good way. I think we're just continuing to be more versatile. I think the key to our offense this year, and on all the metric stuff, it's the best offense in the country on a points per possession level, which is really all I care about because the rest of it's just how fast you play. But I think the key to it's been how different Dylan plays game in and game out, and even within the game, he'll play point guard, he'll play traditional post, he'll play wing, and we just kind of move Dylan around and use him as a mismatch nightmare, and then everybody else feeds off of that. We have great shooting. We're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. That provides space, especially with a guy like Dylan. And then probably the biggest change to our offense has been once Bennett came back and now he's starting to go, he almost gives us a second guy that has some of those Dylan qualities where he's not a point guard, he's definitely not a big guy, but he's a unique, versatile player. And it's been challenging to coach this team compared to other teams offensively, despite the success, because Dylan and Bennett are unique players and they don't fit a traditional mold. But I think that's been the secret is, we're always kind of tweaking and changing how those two are playing within the game, much less within the season. And hopefully, all of us are getting a little bit better at playing off of those two. Hopefully I'm getting better at using them. Hopefully they're getting better at kind of how to use each other and use their teammates. But I think we've had a lot of growth there, but that's what makes us unique. And Cal's also, he's a very normal player compared to the other two in that he's a shooting guard that comes off screens, but his passing is a little bit different than the traditional shooting guard. So then our point guards aren't used like normal point guards because the 2, 3, and 4 are such good passers. So now they're used unique, and it's been fun, but it's also been kind of an interesting shuffling of personnel within the season and within the games.
Was there a conversation with, Dylan getting the defensive honor for 8 blocks this past weekend and stuff? In the off season, is that something you worked on, especially rebounding too? I know he had 11 rebounds, then 9, and in the past maybe that wasn't a strong suit of his. Just how is he able to turn on that part of his game?
Yeah, I think he's really made a massive jump defensively, and he's been all defensive team, but sometimes the way they vote on those things, it's blocks, steal numbers, not the actual best defenders. This year, I think he's actually one of the best defenders in the league, and that's a change. And his block numbers have gone up a little, but not even as much as you'd think. But he's just overall, he's covering so much ground. He's protecting the paint. He's getting out to shooters. We've made some tweaks to what we do defensively that I think have helped him maybe simplify some of the stuff for him and let him play a little more aggressive. But I also think he just has that good senior mindset where he's just so locked into everything, every day of practice, every game plan, every game. And honestly, I think that it comes from he's having way more fun with it this year than he ever has before. And I don't know if maybe the pressure's so off going into your last year. Maybe it's a little bit that he knew all the options that he had last year, and since he turned down so many, not just basketball, but non-basketball options, like he knows he wants to be here over a lot of awesome things, and maybe with that comes some deal of responsibility to make it worth it. But he's obviously tremendous and blah, blah, blah. I think he's having the best year of anybody I've ever coached or anybody I've seen in the GLIAC. Not just the best year in the GLIAC this year, but in my 7 years, I just have never seen a player make that much impact in so many different areas. He might not be the best offensive guy, the best rebounder, the best defensive guy, but when you combine those 3 things, I think he's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Just got time for one more, guys.
Cool. This weekend, thoughts on Wayne State, Purdue?
Yeah, they're obviously Wayne State came in and kicked our butt pretty good last year, and we've struggled with them a little bit. So, I think they present us some challenges that are unique. I think they guard us better than maybe some other teams in the league have traditionally, and do some things to us defensively that'll provide some challenges. Know a little bit more about them, even though we play them Saturday, just because we've played them so many times with that staff. Purdue will be fun. Another new coach, another kind of learning experience. You watch a lot of film, but once you see it in person, it's always a little bit different than what you see on film. So it's been kind of an exciting year that way with different coaches, new coaches. And they're definitely very well coached, and they're doing a lot of things at a really high clip, maybe compared to other years. So it'll be interesting to see live kind of what they do to us, because we're so unique. Everybody has their own little wrinkle of how they play us.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what the Purdue game plan is going to be, because you don't necessarily know that going in.
Going back to last Monday, Ferris at home had to be a disappointment, but to go on the road with 3 games in a week to turn it around with 2 convincing wins, you had to be proud of that.
Very proud. I think, Monday there was a lot of stuff going on, and it was kind of hit us in the face, I think, a little bit. And obviously their defense was really, really good, and we couldn't put the ball in the hoop to save our lives. So to get on the road then and get those 2 wins, and get a bunch of people some playing time and some other people an opportunity when you get 3 games in a week, it makes you feel a little bit better after Monday, but that Monday one still is lingering for sure.
Yeah. How about Jordan yesterday getting Defensive Player of the Week, coming off the bench and grabbing so many rebounds this weekend? Just especially this is her first season playing this many minutes or at all.
Yep.
Just what have you seen from her?
Well, it's really, I mean, she works her tail off, so it's fun to see her get recognized for all the hard work that she's put in for sure. Last year, we redshirted her, but she was in there lifting weights and doing everything she needed to do and pushing her teammates. And we knew she'd be playing a little bit for us. We didn't know that she'd be as productive as she is, but she brings toughness to our team, whether it's in practice or games. And I thought she played more minutes to get 10 rebounds on Saturday. When I saw she only played 12 or 13, I was like, way to get some productivity while you're out there. So, no, I'm really proud of her and how hard she's worked to get where she is, and for her to get recognized by our conference is really special.
I feel like you like the defensive recognition, maybe a little bit more than offense.
I am that defensive coach, but any recognition in our conference is great for our program. Whether it's offense or defense, we'll take it. But I think our defense has been really, really good, and I think we could have got a couple other people up there. But for her to earn it the way she has, and just to battle each and every day, it's been fun to see. But I think she was really surprised yesterday too when it came out. She's kind of like, what? And so it was just fun for everyone.
Were you surprised that Grand Valley beat down Ferris as they did on Saturday after what they did to you?
No, I mean, Grand Valley's good.
Yeah.
I mean, say it how it is. They're a good team, and it's interesting because they had some people back too that were playing at Grand Valley that weren't playing earlier. So it's interesting. Our league is tough, and any given day it can be anyone's turn, and so you got to make shots, and you got to be able to figure it out, and that's part of it against a really good team like Grand Valley. There's not really a surprise. It's going to be a battle each and every game in the GLIAC.
This week with Purdue and especially Wayne, where do you guys need to be at your best?
Everything on both sides of the ball again is going to be huge. Purdue's coming in here on Thursday, and we got to be able to protect our home court. We talked about it a little bit, obviously. We've got 3 losses, and all 3 of them are at home, which just kind of is a little bit of a stinger for us. So we got to make sure we get the job done. But Wayne State's playing really well, too. They took Grand Valley to a 1-point game as well. So they're battling and they're competing. They got Ferris State as well. So, like, you gotta be able to be ready to go. You got to make shots, and you just got to protect your home court and really give it all you can. Here while you're playing at home in front of our home crowd and everything. You got to leave it all on the court.
Yeah. What has Faith Walder brought to you guys this year? I know she's getting more minutes as well, filling up the box score a little bit more. Just how have you seen her progress where she's a big part of your rotation now?
She is. She's a great little point guard for us, is doing some really good things, especially as a true freshman, right? Like, she's still figuring out the basketball game, and it's a little different each and every game, but she's been producing and putting up points for us. I think the biggest thing is she still has so much to learn, and she's still going to get so much better, but she's really gravitating to watching a lot of film. And it's kind of been more of her focus. Where in high school she was a multi-sport athlete. She's really good at a lot of things, but now to have a little bit more focus on basketball, she's still improving. But there's still a long way for her to go to get to that top level where we need her. But she's a freshman. She's playing really hard and does a lot of good things for us.
Oh, I concur with that one.
Yeah.
She stepped right in, and
Yeah.
of course CJ's got to kind of watch her back a little.
Yeah, but CJ still does a lot of the stuff. She's mighty on the court, too. We were watching film as a group yesterday. And her stat line, I mean, CJ had 9 points. I think she had 5 assists. I think she had 3 steals and 3 rebounds. She's small, but she's mighty. And she does so much on the defensive end of, okay, somebody gets beat and CJ's there to help, or CJ takes a charge, or, she does so much more. And I told it to our team, she probably doesn't get recognized enough because her stats is not what she does. She does all of the other stuff on top of leading and being a phenomenal, just a leader for our entire team, both on the court, off the court, in the locker room. I mean, she brings a lot, even though she's small. I call her small and mighty all the time.
Coach, I know it was a busy weekend for you guys, successful as well. Just tell me about it.
Yeah, well, we were pivoted. Stevens Point couldn't host, so we were able to host at our pool. So thanks to the support from the athletic staff that we got it done. And it was a good weekend. It's kind of a meet, too, where we don't have very many meets where they get to do like a few different events and try some different things. So it was good for them to mix it up a little bit. And this is our last few shots here before conference. We leave for conference in about 2 weeks, which is, I can't even get my head wrapped around. But it was a really good weekend. And I think it was Kalina's like fifth women's Goliath diver of the week. So I'm really excited for her.
What does that say about her and the work that she puts in the pool?
She's there all the time, putting it in and day out, and her level this year has just been really fun to watch. She really connected to the team, really connected to NMU athletics. She's helping SAC and making. She's like the chair of the Make-A-Wish for SAC, and so she's just been all around, just putting the time in and doing a really good job.
How is the build-up going to conference? And just
Yeah.
how do you approach that now that it's getting to kind of crunch time?
Yeah, I think this is always the harder week when you're just like, some people are starting to rest, and when they start to rest, they don't always necessarily feel good because their body's going through adjustments, and so they get kind of squirrely and a little bit anxious. So I think this is the week where I just try to tell them everything's going to be okay. The work is in, and now we just, keep fine tuning, and everything will be fine.
Do you guys have goals set at the beginning of the year? Do they change over the course of the season? And
Yeah.
just how is that communicated with
So
the team?
we have individual goal meetings with everyone at the beginning of the year, and I think those are really important. You need to sit down and really get to know them one-on-one with the coaching staff, and their goals may be different than your goals, so you need to go find the middle and make a plan. Kind of helps you set the plan for their season. But they can change, depending on how things go. Maybe, some of them make their goal times at the Calvin Invite in December, and then we have, then we get to go back and be like, okay, well, we met that, now let's go for the next one. And we start looking at where everybody else in the nation and where they're ranked, and maybe where we think they can squeeze into a NCAA bid. So they do kind of evolve over the season, yeah.
As a team, are there any goals in that aspect?
You always want to be a GLIAC champion, and you always want to take Grand Valley off the top of the board. I think we are a really talented team, and the nice thing about going to conference is even though they have a big roster, you can only score 18 people. So it kind of levels the playing field a little bit. It's our 18 people versus their 18 people, and we just got to go take it to them.
You've never held an outdoor practice, have you?
I have.
In January.
This week?
No, not in January. But funny story, we did one at my previous institution, and it was in the fall. And I don't pay that much attention to the weather forecast. I just deal with it as it comes. And in the morning, it was like 25 degrees. So we still did it though. But we put a stop to that a little bit. We did it earlier in the year. But so yeah, no outdoor practice today. I almost wore my gloves to the press conference. It's a little barbecue weather out there, they say.
So this past weekend, I know Sophia had the big day.
Yeah.
Went 160. Just what impressed you most about what she was able to do?
Soph's just consistent, and this has been like top of mind for me for the last few days. Is like I think there's two different types of athletes, right? There's some that they like to compete more than they like to win, and there's some that like to win more than they like to compete, right? And I think she's a competitor, right? She puts a lot of time into her preparation. She's a student of the game. She lives the right lifestyle. She controls all those intangibles that I think are really important to competing at a high level. And she tries to raise the bar every day, whether it be in the practice room, in the weight room, in the classroom, competition, of course. And there hasn't been anything yet that's happened that's been too big or too small. She's had some really big wins, and I think she's had some performances that maybe one or two that she'd like to take back, and she just kind of take those things in stride. And I think that's a good blueprint for some championship behavior as we get into the right time of year.
What's it like to see someone like that, who you said is so competitive, and have the results come along with it this past weekend?
It's all. I mean, it's rewarding for her, for sure. Like, It's what we expect and want, and those sort of things. But that's hard to do because, like, there's nothing wrong with winning either, but that can be a shortcut, right? And she doesn't take the shortcuts and take the result out of it, right? She could lose them all and be a true definition of a competitor and do all those things, and I'd give 2 thumbs up there. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for.
Let me stretch his question a little bit. Is there a difference in your sport between a good practice person and a good match day performer? Have you seen
Absolutely.
those where practice doesn't mean anything until the whistle blows and they get going?
Yeah, but I think I don't think that's rare. I think the truth is I think every athlete goes through that until they maybe have the maturation process or get a little dose of having some success and then they want to jump it up a level. That I think sometimes it's like, hey, I'm just getting through the week and the competition's on Saturday. And then there's people that are competitors that are going to maximize their time. Like we talk about in the room often is like, just because we're in here for 90 minutes doesn't mean that you're getting the same 90 minutes as the other person next to you, right? Maximize your time in here and get the most squeeze out of it. Yes, I think that's super normal, and I think every athlete goes through that. The great ones turn that switch to where they get every bit out of their lifestyle, their diet, their nutrition, their hydration, their recovery, their whatever that list entails, and then they're preparing for 6 days at a time to get to the next day of competition, assuming a week apart. But 100%. I think every athlete goes through that at some point. Just the earlier that you can kind of live the phrase of like how you do one thing is how you do everything is really important in our sport, for sure.
Got conference duels for the second time
Yeah.
This weekend. Were there any takeaways from the first time you guys met with other conference teams and that has helped in your preparation for this weekend?
I just think we have a different challenge ahead this weekend. No disrespect to the other teams that we wrestled in the first 8, but McKendree is a high-powered team, right? They were number 2 in the country at national duels, and the other teams that we wrestle off are maybe in a little bit of a building phase there, and no disrespect by saying that, but. This weekend, we get Grand Valley, we get William Jewell, we get Quincy, 3 teams in the national rankings, and some pretty important individual matchups in there. And but we are still collecting data. We're still collecting data, and then we'll dial it up to get ready to go. So we're just following our training plan, following our periodization, and trying to be ready to go. And then we'll start individualizing this thing after this weekend. But excited. I'm excited for this weekend. I won't be a stranger about how there's a tier in the conference that we want to be a part of, and I think how we compete, regardless of result, is really indicative this weekend to me and what my expectations are.
Well, Coach, indoor season, all right. Just how are things going? That transition from the fall and inside and where you guys are at.
Yeah, I mean, it's going well. We're excited to kind of see. We had that one meet before the winter break, but that was quite a while ago now. So be exciting to see what we can do and add in the cross country, the distance runners into the group. So definitely having some great practices and everybody's looking good. So it should be a great year ahead, I think.
Yeah.
How do you keep them focused when the weather sucks this much?
Yeah, it's a challenge, especially, the distance runners usually on the distance days run outside still. So it's gotten a little bit challenging with so much warm and cold and ice and everything. And then, then we've had challenges with the turf and the track. So it's always a little bit challenging, but, we just try to stay positive and tell them, it's just making them tougher and that and that really we do have better facilities, and there's some teams that don't even have any. They're running up or they have to take a bus over to a track, or like Wayne State, they just don't have many places to train there. So really it's better than many places. And then we have those rollout tracks on the edge that the athletes can use. And then when we do have the turf, we have a 300-meter loop marked out with, we put cones down, and we just do our workouts right there on the turf. And I think last year we thought that the distance runners, that actually really helped them because they got just stronger. You know, it's like, because it's like running on sand almost. And so once we got on a track, it just felt so easy and so fast. So, yeah.
Whitewater this weekend, what's your guys' plan? Are you running everybody, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah, everybody that's healthy, and we'll cover most of the events. I don't think I'll have anybody doing the 5K this weekend for the distance group, but all the other events we should be spread out within, kind of see where we're, kind of a test to see where we're at, and then we can adjust then from there and continue, working. And then after that we have some big meets coming up, the Jets invite, and then the WCW, which now we are not hosting anymore. So that'll be down at Saginaw.
Yeah. What's the difference for them running outside versus inside? Is there an adjustment period to get their bodies acclimated to running inside, and how do you approach that as a coach?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the track group mostly has been inside all
Right.
fall. Whenever they could get out, they were out. But the distance group, they still go outside. But yeah, it's a little different. But we just adjust and just change how we approach things. But everybody's kind of, especially if it's this cold outside, they'd rather be in here.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm good. It's early in your season still, and you've got a lot of things to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we have a big group of new student athletes, so it's really, a big freshman class on the track and field side. It's smaller on the distance side, but kind of figuring out the relays and figuring out, the different, who's better at what and where, and yeah, so it's a lot to figure out. And now it's kind of like it's in a short season in a way, because it's just 6 weeks long, basically indoor. It's like we travel now 6 weekends in a row, and then you got to really figure everything out in the 6 weeks, and you got to, train enough, but be ready for the end so that you're running fast and jumping far and all that stuff. So a lot of technique and technical things with all the field events. So it's a challenge, a 6-week challenge, but exciting, and it's always fun once we get rolling.